Before we start today's commentary, guys, I would just like to thank you all very much for all the support you give to my channel. It's really been appreciated, and keep supporting me, guys. Keep liking those videos, and I'm looking forward to getting up to 50 subs. That's really my new goal now, or either 50 subs or 2,500 views. So please, guys, keep it going. But with that out of the way, let's get started. Today I am doing Black Ops 3 versus Star Wars Battlefront. Now, I'm aware both of these games have not yet been released. I am merely judging these games by what I've played by them with their betas. And this isn't really a proper versus. This is rather a comparison depending on which which game would be better for you as the individual consumer, as well as why I believe these games, ways these games can go over their shortcomings, ways that, I can also explain their shortcomings as games. So, with that out of the way, I will get started. So, each game, right now, because it's kind of clear that these games are meant to compete with each other, DICE is aggressively trying to cut off Call of Duty's base population and stuff, while Call of Duty is still fighting to try stand tall as the king of the FPS genre. Now, with that out of the way, I want to get the preference out. So, and really, to be honest, this game really comes down to, depending on if you're a player who is goal-oriented or experience-driven. Each ideal has their own, ideas of the way of playing the game. Each has a different goal set in mind. So, because when you play Call of Duty, that's gonna be a goal-oriented game. That game isn't about the experience itself. It's about the goal and the rewarding feeling when you get so many kills and then unlock those kill streaks and then unleash death with those kill streaks. And then because of all of those kills with those kill streaks, you get so many unlocks of new weapons and kill streaks and perks, which you get to use all over again to drive your self-ego. That is where the satisfaction within Call of Duty lies. And if you're a type of person who's goal-oriented, that's where your place belongs in gaming. But if you're an experience-driven gamer, by analogy, it would be a difference of this. Do you prefer in games, in sports, or just activities, do you prefer to play football or mountain biking? Because with football, it's about the competition. It's not about many of the experiences. It's not like going to practice and stuff is necessarily fun. Nor, in some cases, even the game isn't even that fun to you if you lose. Half of the reason football players take defeat so harshly compared to other shooters is because football is goal-oriented. It's about the goal-driven. The fact that you win the game and you have everyone cheering for you. And because of that, you unlock this really awesome trophy. That is the goal. That is what makes football fun to most people. While mountain biking is an experience-driven based game or sport. Sorry, I'm getting confused with analogies, but because there's no goals to pursue. And hardly any at all. You can do challenges, but you can't necessarily do a goal. There's nothing to pursue because it's not about the goal. It's about the experience of doing it. There's no goal to obtain. There's no competition. When you're done, you pack up and you go home. There's no risk of defeat. There's no primal example because regardless if you win or lose, the game is still going to be fun. And that is genuinely the example of it. Even when you get wrecked, you sometimes still have fun because you get in that situation like D-Day, where you're trying to rush up a hill and go what the heck do we do now, Sarge? And you do all that cool stuff. Call of Duty, you can't get those kind of feelings. But Call of Duty has what Battlefront doesn't, the set of goals. Call of Duty would be compared to football, as the game is about the goal, about the pursuit of victory against your opponent, while Battlefront is an experience-driven game. It's very much like mountain biking or scuba diving. There's no goal to persuade, there's challenges and there's different things to expand upon, but there's never a goal. Your goal in there isn't even a goal, it's the goal of driving the experience. It's about the experience of the fun. It would be like one trying to get a girlfriend. For the COD player would very much be the type of guy who would only have the satisfaction in once when he earns the girl. With everything else before it, the jokes, the laughs, the flirting, the general ideas, and overall just the kindness would be at the very least an obstacle and at the very most a chore. While the Battlefront player would be the type of person in pursuit of a girl who's the pursuit of the hunt. The idea that it's all part of the plan. All of it is the fun of it. And I have to say I'm very much one of those people. I have a girlfriend now. I'm very happy about that. But small glimpses of me kind of miss it when I had to work so hard in pursuit for her. It was a very fun and rewarding feeling to have it because it was just fun having that. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still appreciative of it. I'm just saying that was genuinely half of the fun of it. And just the pursuit of having a girlfriend. And especially when it got clear that we were liking each other a lot, we were doing so many funny things even though we weren't realizing that at that point we were indirectly dating. And that was ultimately my taste for gaming. But others will not have that taste for games. Or real life on that matter. But in this analogy, we have to compare that between Star Wars Battlefront and Black Ops 3. And ultimately, the game you're going to prefer is the game that ultimately, are you goal-oriented or experience-driven? The reason why ultimately, like if you want my honest, true opinion, I do prefer Star Wars Battlefront over BO3, but that's not because I believe Star Wars Battlefront is a better game. It's because I believe I'm an experience-driven preference. That's also a reason why I like Halo so much, because both of them were experience-based games. And that's what I loved about them. Call of Duty isn't necessarily about the experience. I'm not saying you can't have experience drive fun, but it was mainly about the goals. And that's where the game thrives, is the goals to pursue. And ultimately, it's like this. Okay, imagine you were a COD fan. You play COD a lot. And you're questioning, hey, well, I prefer Black Ops 3 or Star Wars Battlefront. The question is, which aspect of COD did you prefer? Did you prefer multiplayer? Or did you prefer something more wacky like zombies or extinction? Or, okay, that's a kind of a poor analogy to say because, you know, you're facing other players, but do you prefer competitive-based playlists such as Search and Destroy and Domination and stuff? Or did you prefer more casual-based, just, not casual, but just more fun game modes, such as Infection, Gun Game, Uplink, all of those. Those were games that were fun. Granted, they could be competitive, but they were mainly about the fun of it. And that's where ultimately your preference will come of whether or not you prefer Star Wars Battlefront or BO3. But where both of these games thrive are also the spots where the other game seems to be lacking. And it seems interesting when you think about it. EA, rather than trying to compete with COD as the most competitive game in the market, even though some would disagree, EA is instead shooting to pursue a different kind of audience. The audience that COD could never pursue. Because if they try to, insanely hard, they would remove the very thing that made COD a special game in the first place, which was the pursuit of the goals. You can't, honestly, there's not really a way to have modes in games having both that goal-driven and experience-driven at the same time. The only reason I believed Halo even had it was because there were modes that catered to both. That was the only reason I even said Halo was qualified as both goal-oriented and experience-driven, because it was your choice upon which one, and both you would still get a high-quality experience. While with Battlefront and Black Ops 3, that is not the case. If you are not a person who likes goal-driven gameplay, if you're a dude who's in for the experience and as much variety as possible, then Call of Duty is not going to be that game for you. But that's where you need to get Battlefront. And the same applies, but vice versa. If you're a type of person who experience drive, it doesn't do much to keep you playing. If you're a type of person who thrives through competition, then you're ultimately gonna prefer COD. But this is where the game's shortcomings come. And this is why I always believed Halo was the dominant shooter when compared to COD and Battlefield. It's because Halo, by comparison in my opinion, and Destiny, well, not Destiny, Destiny could've, but it failed. Halo thrived because it had a mixture of it. It could thrive and have just as a fun experience if you were a preference to goal-oriented or experience-driven. And now do I believe Halo is more experience-driven? Yes, but you could still thrive through goals, especially nowadays. You know, back in the original Halos, I could see your points, but nowadays Halo has thrived through many goals to pursue. But it still keeps the experience-driven gameplay, the arena setup, the wacky array of weapons and tools and vehicles that are some of the most unique in all of gaming. And ultimately, that is where I believe Call of Duty and Battlefront have their shortcomings. Where they do good one end, they fail in the other. And that is why some of games are failing. They need to try to pursue both. And that is the only way you'll win this competition. Now, in the end, Black Ops 3 will win this based war because it's Call of Duty. It's simple. It's the top shooter right now. But while Battlefront isn't yet close, it is rising. It is a starting point. Like Destiny and Titanfall before it, Battlefront is representing a new coded franchise. It is not a reskin of Battlefield 4. It is not but at the same time, it's not the original Battlefronts we all know and love. It is a new kind of game, a new type. Thriving to what made Battlefield and Battlefront so great in the past, but using its own formula. And Call of Duty Black Ops 3 is taking what it learned from Black Ops 2, Ghost, and Advanced Warfare. It's adding the mobility mechanics, but it's keeping the overall gameplay of COD, which is what thrived its competition. Advanced Warfare didn't thrive through much competition. That's why many say Advanced Warfare got stale so fast. It wasn't just because of map flow or mobility, but it's because the mobility never complemented COD's gameplay. It never complemented it. And because of that, with COD being the goal-oriented game it is, without the need of pursuit of those goals, the game got stale. Because COD Advanced Warfare didn't have too much goals to pursue. Everything was random that you earned. And everything that was... And the kill streaks were underwhelming. They weren't that powerful. And like I said, with the mobility, so much chaos was going on that you could never really feel good about any kill. Because if you went woohoo with your hands in the air, after one kill, you would die immediately after. Because people move so quickly. It was a... COD thrived through competition, and Advanced Warfare lacked it. And that's what Black Ops 3 is ultimately learning. Halo 5 has, well, I'm not going to talk about Halo 5, I'll do that in its own separate video, I keep mentioning it. But Battlefront is learning from the mistakes of Battlefield 4 and ultimately trying to improve it, but have the original feels, well, not feel, but overall qualification of the original Battlefronts. And it's clear that they're going to be different. After all, the last Battlefront game hasn't been made in over a decade. And that's where we need to stand and understand. We are in a position right now where we have to understand that games nowadays are living in a particular time where we have to thrive through many games' weaknesses. We have to work through them. But unfortunately nowadays, where games thrive one end, they fail the other. That's the problem with Destiny. Destiny was trying to be a game for everyone like Halo was before it, but it failed because it didn't understand the uniqueness. It tried so hard to satisfy every kind of audience that it never truly satisfied on any one front. But COD and Battlefront are still trying to play it really safe. Don't get me wrong, they're great games and they're great to be made, but I don't think they're crazy enough yet to really justify them as the new and ultimate revolutionary game that we believe they will be. And that's where I believe we need to stand on this. That's where we need to understand. That's what we need to get. For the gaming industry has gone through these issues. The gaming industry has been a very qualitative issue with this, but we need to help these games thrive to its full potential. And that's where we need to compensate for other games' shortcomings. And ultimately, like I said, by comparison, that's the reason why COD and Battlefront are specifically made for a certain audience. But the reason I'm ranting is not because I'm angry about that, it's because nowadays at this point, games should be able to attract both kind of audiences. I shouldn't have to say that Call of Duty is this, it'll only be good for people who really like goals, and Battlefront being only really good for people who seek good experiences. We should have more games nowadays where they can thrive through both. And this is where I call in. I call upon the YouTubers to assist, to help thrive our community to be stronger. We must allow these games not just to be the great games that stand, but to be martyrs for a future to become. We need these games to set up what lies within our future. I'm not wanting to hate on Battlefront or Black Ops 3. I'm not wanting to hate them. I want to love them. And they are great through the looks of everything we've seen so far. You know, I've had my nitpicks with them, and I've made videos to justify them. But ultimately, I'm not standing against what they are. I am standing for what they can be. For there is a balance in the world for what a game is and what it can be or what it should be or what it needs to be. And I'm standing for what Battlefront and Black Ops 3 can be or should be or needs to be. What could make it stronger than it could ever imagine. And that is what I want. I want that out of games. I want games nowadays to once, like Battlefront, Black Ops 3, and Halo 5 have the chance to reset up the foundation of gaming. To once again allow gaming to thrive through new, innovative, powerful innovation. And ultimately, its ideas. We must stand together as a community to help stand for these games. This isn't a contest between Black Ops 3 and Battlefront. It is a taste of preference. For games nowadays, we need to stop treating that Call of Duty is the top shooter. It may be within the marketing or population, but it's not about that. It's not about who's the best through that, but rather it's who can paint the more beautiful art, who can truly thrive games. And the reason why I say it like this is because games are more than just a source of entertainment to me. They are a thrive, a piece, a shard of human creativity to its full extent. The mix of art, music, game design, sound design, and general ideas of the way a game feels and plays. It is the ultimate evolution of entertainment. It is the ultimate thrive of human creativity. And we must ensure games continue that way. We had our innovative games in the past, being Battlefront, Battlefield, Halo, Call of Duty. All of these games stood in the past as the biggest games that revolutionized the industry. And it's not about who can be the most popular or the best marketed. It's about whose art, who will work harder for the art. And that's what we need games to be again. We need games to be less about money, less about who can get the more pre-orders, and about who can make the bigger and stronger game. Who can ultimately have a game not only be memorable to your source of entertainment, not only memorable to your time and mind, but to your heart. I want games to once again determine things. I want games to once again had it where they played a role in who you are in your life. And that's where we must stand together. This isn't a split between Call of Duty and Battlefront. Rather than ranting on each other, ragging on each other about games, we need to stand together as one. This is Dumber Orange 927 and peace out.